Broadcasters Association and this station.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com.
On the internet.
KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket. It's time to go one-on-one with DP. Coming at you live from the Coppel Chevrolet GMC studios. Here is your host, Derek Pearson. Presented by Beatrice Bakery on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
One-on-one, and thank you guys for joining and staying with us on a Wednesday morning. Beautiful day, great weather. Everybody showed out yesterday, got a little sun, got some fresh air in their lungs, good stuff. We'll do the same today and carry us through. I want to thank the folks from Beatrice Bakery for making this hour of sports radio happen. You guys know the deal today, 999-4620, Starter Heyman text line. You can text in questions for our guests. You can call in the Honda Lincoln hotline, 464-5685. If you want to communicate that way. The video stream is up, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch. Those chat rooms are open, so if you have comments, questions, have at it. Have at it. Our guests will gladly answer, and I've got a lot of questions to ask because there's lots going on. I'm trying to find the right words for how I felt Sunday, because my phone started ringing, and it's like, well, man, that was a great article. That's a great piece. I'm like, what are you talking about? And he said, no, Lincoln Journal Star. I was like, well, I just talked to Kent. I was like, I'm pretty sure he didn't know it was being run. So I'm like, Kent, what? He goes, I didn't know either. Let's bring in Kent Wolgamott, Lincoln Journal Star. First of all, thank you for what you did. That is spectacular.
Well, thank you. It's great. Okay, how do I want to put this? Sometimes when you're writing stories, it's like certainly doesn't come easily. Let's put it that way.
Fair.
This one, my only issue was, what do I have to cut out? You, sir, are a great interview, and we had great stuff to talk about. And that makes my job easy, and I hoped in there to get some sense of what you're doing out here, because I think it's pretty special, and definitely I don't know of any place else that's doing this kind of stuff anywhere, much less Lincoln.
There's so much to unwrap in it, because our conversations were kind of all over the place.
You think?
We were all over the place in what we were talking about, and I think, for me, one, it was the fact that you were being curious, like authentically curious. Your spirit is bigger than the confines of your article. And that was the thing that I was telling folks. Like, I wish that folks got to hear the conversation, because it was such, for me, it was so enlightening to find out what the heart and spirit of Lincoln is behind the black and white ink that you read on a day-to-day or weekly basis. But then you start going into the history of this town and the people who are involved, and that's where I leaned in, because you love this town.
Oh, absolutely.
You love this town, and that comes off, and that confirms and reaffirms that, you know what, this is the right place to do this. So I'll ask you this again before we get into the nuts and bolts, but why do you love this town so much?
That's a really good question. I moved here to go to college, to go to the university, and, went to school. And then I was in DC for a while, and I love DC too. Those are probably
that might have been one of the bonding moments. That we hit that.
And those are probably my two favorite places in the world, actually. And there's something about Lincoln that I just always felt like, somehow I fit here.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also something about Lincoln. I've always said that Lincoln is a small town that's also a big city at the same time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can be connected with the whole community here. It's not that huge that you can't be connected, and you can't go to, do the football stuff, but also go to the lead center or do this or do that, right? And once you settle into a place and you get to know, in my view, people, either you're going to like it, either you're going to settle there and you're going to want to be there, or you'll head down the road. Well, I've had multiple opportunities to go elsewhere, not recently, but and I'd go and I'd like, no, I don't want to live in Fort Worth. Okay.
I understand what you mean by that. Like, I understand what you mean by that. What I found was that there are some authentic people here with big town thinking, but little small town hearts.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it makes it's close enough and confined enough that it's hard not to be authentic in it.
Yeah.
Like if you're bogus in this thing, people are going to figure it out pretty quick. Right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
So the fact that people have reached out and said, first of all, you've got a nation of folks behind you who love your work and who ride with your work. Like, well, this is DP, this is a big deal. Kent's going to sit with you. This is a big deal. He's part of the pulse and heartbeat of this town. And I went, wow. And then, as you said, you've traveled enough to know good when you see it.
Mm-hmm.
So when you see it here, it's a little bit louder, it's a little bit brighter, and it matters a little bit more to the core of the people who live here. Do we cross the line between sports and community here too much?
I think not.
Okay.
Actually. And the reason I say that is sports is the one thing that I can think of that still exists that unifies people. I mean, it doesn't matter what your political affiliation is when you're,
side by side on a Saturday at Memorial.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. That sports has done that.
Sports does that. Name me something else that does that.
There's only two. I've said all along that music.
Oh, music.
Music tends to be and sports are the two things that will cross barriers and blend recipes pretty quickly in America.
And what do I write about?
Right, like those things, and that's unique. We were talking about before the show, talking about different concerts coming to Lincoln, and that there are machines behind them,
absolutely,
that draw that. Do you think most people are aware of how these deals?
Oh, no, absolutely not.
Right. So you were telling the story. So George Strait coming to Lincoln, big deal.
Big deal.
A lot of money.
And it took maybe 5 years to get this show because, George retired and now he does these sort of from touring, and he does these he did a Vegas residency, and he does these one-off shows, and he does like stadiums. Well, they worked for years and years and years just to get him to book a show here.
Yeah.
Okay. That isn't, people don't understand that. And on the opposite side of the coin, the Snoop show got put together in 2 weeks.
What? Just to tell you, having been around the country on 420, I can tell you getting Snoop on 420 is like you getting the Academy Awards in Lincoln.
Absolutely.
Like there are so many pieces that have to fall together in a short window to get an event that is a national caliber event here at Lincoln.
In 2 weeks. And it hasn't sold out yet, but
it will.
Yeah. And that's, and the Strait show obviously sold out at really high ticket prices, which is what his prices are everywhere.
But the thought that Lincoln would pay said prices.
Yes. And that is, if there's been a change in the Lincoln
community culture
for music, for concerts, it's that people here now will pay the price, that sort of national price, where, people aren't going to flinch at $100 concert ticket, where
Because it's a one-off.
it's a one-off deal. But in
Right.
the past, Lincoln was notorious for not wanting to pay any money for shows, and that hurt. And the arena's been there 9 years now, and that's kind of changed everything along with the Pinewood, but it really has made a big difference. And that brings the community together in the same way, as you said earlier, as the sports do. But music goes away, right? You know what I'm saying? You're not
It's
with,
cyclical.
yeah. Well, no, you're not with those people, right? You go to the concert and then you may
They're
never,
gone.
they're gone. You go football or basketball or
You know
whatever.
them,
You know them. And it's a constant, and people are going to the games. They're talking. It lasts. Well, football here for some reason is a 365-day a year event.
Never like it is like breakfast. It is
Yeah.
like breakfast. It's going to happen here.
Yeah.
So then I'll ask you the question that leads to, when you talk about these venues and the fan base and what it wants and what it doesn't want. The elephant in the room is beer.
And the elephant in the room will come out for the first time this weekend at Pinnacle for the Big Ten wrestling.
So Saturday, they've got 4 sessions Saturday.
Correct.
From 10 a.m. I believe the championship's at 4 o'clock.
Correct.
And PBA will sell beer. Now, there's no, like, the beer lines are up. Like, they're there.
Right.
You've got the machines
Right.
in place. So we'll see how functional this is. Now, as Husker fans will tell you, their issue with PBA has been, are the concessions up to par?
The issue there is the employment shortage. They just can't get enough people.
So how do you think they handle an added value item?
I can tell you exactly how they're going to
Okay.
handle it.
Okay.
They are selling only one canned beer and
Perfect.
one draw beer, right?
Oh, so it's one. Okay.
So
Okay.
you can either get this or that. You're
Uh-huh.
not going to get 8 billion choices,
Mhm.
which lets you move the lines faster. And they are going to have, how do I put
Are there going to be kiosks that they're going to have?
Yeah, essentially.
So
Yeah.
it's not going to be necessarily at the hamburger line. It's going
Right.
to be behind them at a kiosk.
Yes. That's
Okay.
exactly the way to put it.
Okay.
So they'll be able to handle it. And the assumption is, and I believe they're correct on this is not going to be like a concert where everybody's getting the beer at the same time,
Mhm.
right? Because you go to a concert, everybody goes to the beer lines before the show, at the intermission. You go 30 minutes into the show, you walk right up because everybody's in. This is not going to be the same way. It's going to come in over the course of the day, the assumption being that they aren't going to sell a lot of beer at 10 o'clock in the morning, but they might at 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
I'm going to be paying attention at 10 o'clock to see what it's wrestling. Like, there are people who they're going to walk in the door and that's what they're going to want to do. This is an event for them. This is their Super Bowl. So, or this is their Big Ten Conference Championship. So it's a big deal and people will be watching. What other things should we be looking for at PBA on Saturday with beer sales? Like the amount of beer. Will we get reports on how much beer sold?
I would suspect won't get a full, they won't tell me to the nickel, but I will get a pretty good idea of how much they're sold. I think the main thing to look for is that it's not a big deal, right?
In this very space until Saturday, it won't be a big deal.
Yep.
Sunday, it may be a bigger deal.
Sunday, it may be a bigger deal, but Sunday, it may be everything went fine. Everybody had, the people who had a beer went home. And that's the whole deal on this is, people are saying, oh, there's going to be beer in Memorial Stadium. Okay. Even if they decide tomorrow that they want to sell beer at Memorial Stadium, I'm guessing it's a minimum of 2 years before they could even think about it because they have no infrastructure. you're not going to run kegs all over the place, so they don't have lines running.
You would almost need 50 beer kiosks just to begin.
And where are you going to put them? In that old stadium?
In that old stadium, rolling kiosk, corner facilities where the cash is protected. It'll all have to be electronic. There are reasons that this will be a difficult launch.
Exactly. And you know what else they don't have? Enough restrooms.
Yeah, true.
Absolutely.
True. Absolutely true. Yeah, that's a thing. Kent Walbart, Lincoln Journal-Star. That leads us to spring game. And it's an early date this year, right?
Yeah. I mean, they started spring football in February.
So early on, turf renewal or removal or installation, whatever it's going to be later in the fact of this, later this spring. But does that affect the crowd
at the spring
game?
I think absolutely yes.
Right. I mean, the huge difference between the 74 that we're gonna roll with or the 44 that we're gonna roll with.
Yeah, I mean, when is that spring game?
April
9th. You could get a 45-degree day.
Right. So how does this play off then? Because does this temper the crowd, the normal Kool-Aid crowd that gets behind spring games and treats it like, Super Bowl, like spring Super Bowl?
I think what it does, okay, is the crowd, the family that brings the kids because they don't get to go to games, they still going to show up. All right.
Okay.
They're going to be there.
Okay.
And you're sort of hardcore. We got to go see the 68th string IMAC.
Right.
They'll be there.
Yeah.
It's that in the middle, right? As you say, the sort of Kool-Aid crowd.
Right.
And I don't know how they're going to react. And I don't know that in part because I don't know exactly how to say this. I think some people almost feel burned by all the win in the off season, so to speak. They're going to be great. And they go down and see the game, the spring game, and get all jacked up. And then come September, maybe not so great. And I think that's starting to have an impact. And I think you might see that hit the spring game.
It's fan base PTSD where you've been bombarded by it, and if it doesn't give you the payoff, it becomes frustrating. But I'll ask you, where do you stand on it? You personally,
on the spring game?
Yeah.
My thought on the spring game for however many years that I've gone to this thing is it's practice. And you know what AI says?
We're talking about practice. We're talking about practice.
Not a game.
Not a game. Not a game. Not a game. That's fantastic because I really I try to be the reader of the temperature of the room rather than setting the pace of it. So I'm trying to understand where Husker fans are in this thing. I know how meaningful it is for the fan base to be able to breathe in football. How important is this spring game going to be to the Haymarket?
All of that, the Haymarket, all of those places have fortunately, Lincoln didn't get killed by the pandemic on, yes, some restaurants closed. Yes, some place, but not like many cities. Okay.
Right.
All of these events are starting to bring everything back. The Haymarket spring game isn't the equivalent of a football game for those places, a real game.
Okay.
In part because it's so much of a family event, and in part because there's not a lot of tailgating and a lot of that going on, right? So it's a really good day for them no matter what. And, and there are specific establishments that I don't need to name,
right,
that will do extremely well because of their association with Husker sports.
Okay.
And that, what that is, it's just this boost and it's coming early for them, which is probably good, honestly. And it will help. The Haymarket's big issue to me, and I don't know how they solve it, is they get people down there before football games, after football games. They get people down there before bigger events at PBA, whether it's men's basketball, concerts. Now, I guess a little bit women's basketball is drawn enough that you're gonna do some business down there, but the rest of the time it's pretty vacant.
Yeah, well, I think they've lost the pandemic. They lost the student body traffic.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the athletes have to shut down in order to not engage.
Absolutely.
Right. No, don't take the risk. You can't do it. So I think that's a big part of it as well. And that's being missed. But I do want to ask what's the bridge between having the spring game be a tailgate event? What's stopping it from being a tailgate event?
That's a good, two things, I think. And I don't know that it's stopping, but one is we've talking cultural, right? It just never has been.
Well, you know that I am a fan of shaking culture.
Yes. Well,
I'm a fan of shaking it up. And to me, I think it's a missed opportunity.
Mm-hmm. And
right, because what better way can the average fan who doesn't get access get access?
Yes,
like make the players accessible during spring,
and that to me is something they should do.
Right, like I think that
absolutely.
So we're working on that, but I just, to me it seems like a missed opportunity.
I agree. I agree completely, and that accessibility. Okay. This is not an exact parallel, but I'm going to tell you, well, I got my Raiders hat on. All right. Why am I a Raiders fan? Okay. I think I was 10. The centennial of Nebraska. Somehow some businessmen in North Platte, out by where I grew up, managed to talk the Denver Broncos into having a preseason game at North Platte High School, of all places. And they played the Raiders. And I made my mom, my mom is a huge sports fan, still 93. And the calls I get, what station is that on?
Hi, Mom.
Yeah, Mom. It's on ESPN2, Mom. And so she takes me up there. I don't remember the score of the game. I don't remember anything like that. After the game, they let the kids go out and talk to the players and meet the players. And I got these autographs. I've been a Raiders fan since that day. Yeah. That's the kind of connection that I think is important. And it doesn't have to be a little kid to have that connection.
No,
but
I think the grown-ups carry it with them too.
Yeah. And I think that's some of what's gotten away a little bit here, is that personal connection that you get with these guys.
It's my hope that as the advancement goes, and because we've been engaging football players on a more regular basis in this station, that the opportunities seem to be elevating. There seem to be more opportunities to do it. And the players themselves are talking, well, geez, we'd like to do like a Friday tailgate.
Yeah.
And invite down the media and invite down fans to meet. And I just thought, well, that would make more sense. Like my whole thought is at some point, April 8th, that Kent Walgamot and the Pipeline guys are sitting in the same room, just talking.
Yeah.
Just talking.
Which does not happen anymore.
Well, again, like I said, I think the opportunity for fans to get to know the student athletes, for the journalists and the media to get to know the student athletes, and vice versa. And vice versa. So that when they see you, they will be willing to be authentic with you, because you deserve that. And the more authentic they are, the easier the stories become. Kent, we'll throw it to break. When we come back, I want to talk about the conversation that we had about the sports culture here and what the ticket can do to help make it thrive. And I'll ask you some sincere questions about what can be done along the way in the future here in Lincoln, Nebraska. So we'll throw the break. One-on-one, more on 93.7 The Ticket.
Download our app by searching 93.7 The Ticket in your app store. You're listening to One-on-One with DP on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Early break with Sip and Jake.
Pleased and honored to be joined by Nebraska volleyball coach John Cook.
If Trev wasn't interested, I would have done it in a heartbeat because I just felt like Nebraska athletics, we were at the edge of the cliff. You know, we had to do something, get somebody in here to build this athletic department back up. I thank my lucky stars every day that Trev's our guy now.
Early break with Sip and Jake from 6 to 8 every weekday morning on 93.7 The Ticket.
There's a lot that goes into buying a home. Security First Bank can help lighten the load. Whether you're looking for more space or a new place, we make the process easier with friendly, experienced mortgage lenders. And whether you're building new or remodeling the old, we have flexible financing too. Security First Bank. We're the bank. Member FDIC. Equal housing lender. NMLS number 505011.
Listening to this Allstate commercial about savings might be the hardest thing about getting those savings. Save for simply becoming an Allstate customer. Save more for adding DriveWise. And save even more for driving safely. Visit Allstate.com or contact your local agent for a quote today. Allstate. Minimum effort, maximum reward.
Not available in every state. New customer savings based on early signing discount. DriveWise is an optional feature. Savings vary based on how you buy. Subject to terms and conditions. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
You knew the risks when you decided to drive drunk. There could be a crash. People could get hurt or killed. But that didn't stop you, did it? You knew you could get arrested. You could incur huge legal expenses, and you could possibly even lose your job. You were well aware of the consequences of driving drunk. But one thing's for sure. You were wrong when you said it was no big deal. Drive sober or get pulled over. This message brought to you by NHTSA.
93.7 The Ticket. Fox KFXL weather. Brought to you by Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing.
Sunny skies and more spring-like warmth as we'll top out near 75 this afternoon. Winds will turn out of the north but remain light at around 10 to 15. Increasing cloud cover tonight, a low down to 30. We will be cloudy, much colder tomorrow, but still rather mild for early March with a high of around 51. I'm meteorologist Tim Wright for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
The captain, Vershawn Jackson.
My hardest job is to know how to win and how to lose and be able to handle adversity.
Well, I think that's also good because adversity is a great teacher. You know, usually when you're winning, you're not going to change much. When you really encounter adversity, then everything's on the table. You begin to really examine your life and examine what you've been doing, what you haven't been doing, and that's when sometimes the most meaningful changes occur.
Weekdays from 11 to 2 on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
We all make choices about alcohol. Kids make choices whether to drink or not.
Bye, Dad. Remember, I'm going to Alex's party tonight and sleeping over.
Hey, remind me about that party again?
And adults make choices whether to talk about it. That's true of parents and every other trusted adult in a kid's life. Kids want to know our expectations, and they want honest answers in everyday conversations. So talk with your kids and help lead them on a positive path.
Sponsored by DHHS and aired in cooperation with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Hey, Steve. Welcome to Great Clips.
Great Clips asks, what's the difference between good and great?
Come on back and have a seat.
Good asks you what haircut you'd like.
I have all your details from last time. Would you like the same haircut today?
Great already knows. With Clip Notes, we save your haircut details so you can get the same thing as last time, every time. Download our online check-in app today. Great Clips. It's gonna be great.
High school sports on 93.7 The Ticket are brought to you by the Lincoln Convention and Visitors Bureau. It's the most wonderful time of the year, and Lincoln is excited to welcome big events to our community. Find out what's happening in Lincoln by visiting lincoln.org.
You're listening to One-on-One with DP, sponsored by Beatrice Bakery on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back to One on One. You can text in if you wish, 402-999-2460 if you want to do that, or you can call in the Honda Lincoln Hotline, 464-5685. And Kent and I will actually answer your questions or react to your commentary. There is a big thing going on, and we're pushing Mark Manning to come in Thursday or Friday to talk about the Big Ten tournament. We talked about it a little bit with being at PBA. And how big is this event?
How big is this event
to this market?
Well, I don't know if the market realizes how big it is.
Well,
yet,
that's been the question,
frankly. But they've already sold almost 11,000 tickets for this.
I want you to say that again because that's bananas.
They've already sold almost 11,000 tickets. Okay. There are people coming from a whole bunch from Iowa, as there's a shocker, but there are people coming from at least the school areas where the wrestling teams are good.
Penn State's coming.
Penn State's
they're
coming.
Bringing people.
Iowa's coming, right? The rest of them, I'm not real sure, but they've sold 10,000 tickets. Okay, that's the equivalent of a basketball game, but it's all day. And the difference between this and Husker basketball is the people from, State College or wherever, Pittsburgh, ain't going home at night. They're in the hotels, they're in the restaurants, all of that. It's a big deal, and it's a big success already. And I think this will mean it'll come back. It won't come back every year because that's not how the Big Ten does things with wrestling, but it will come back in 2 or 3 years. And I think it's a big deal. The more you can do these kind of events, the better. Lincoln can't really, because of the hotel situation, cannot do NCAA men's basketball.
Not the number?
They don't.
Number of rooms available in the space.
Number of rooms available in
but Omaha can.
But Omaha can because they have just that enough more hotels, right? It's just a flat number.
Do we know the number that Nebraska needs to reach? With all the development.
And they're probably close. They could do women's, but they can't do men's.
Wow.
Yet. So, and the other thing is Omaha bids on the men's. Lincoln will, don't be shocked. They've had a NCAA women's second round game, because first rounds are played at home sites. So it'll be the second round games. They've had that at PBA in the past, and we'll probably have it in the future.
Would there be? To me, it seems like there'd be some benefit if this event was stretched out over a couple of days.
The Big Ten wrestling,
right?
Absolutely.
That seems obvious and apparent.
Yeah, and it honestly seemed weird to me. I figured it would be 2 days.
Okay.
But I don't know much about wrestling. I will tell you the truth. I am not a wrestling.
I wasn't a wrestling. Well, I've always been a wrestling fan, but Mark Manning's insight and kind of opening the door to the behind the scenes stuff, it makes me lean in. It makes me pay attention. Also knowing how strong the conference is and why this thing matters so much. But I've been waiting for fans to tell me how deep to go into this or not. So I'll ask you. Is Lincoln a wrestling town?
Not entirely. How do I want to put this? There is a core support group that is very strong.
Fair.
Outside of that core,
they don't know
what they do. You had Jordan Burroughs, right? Jordan was a draw, so to speak. Jordan pulled people into that wrestling. But I don't think you have the same broad community wrestling town thing that you do with, this isn't once again, not exactly fair to compare wrestling to this, but volleyball in, pick one, Clemson is not a big deal.
Right.
Volleyball in Lincoln is a big deal. It's a volleyball town. Okay. I think in Iowa, There's no question that it's a wrestling thing. Nebraska isn't at that level.
Okay. I mean, and I think that's the message that's been sent. Like my phone's blowing up because people say, I'm so glad you're talking about wrestling. And I'm a fan of it. There are some wonderful personalities on this wrestling team for Nebraska. They've even got a 1 seed going into this tournament, which is phenomenal in a conference that's so competitive. But I wasn't sure if the fan base was as engaged as they should or could be.
And I think the important word there you said was could.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure how you do that. I'm not sure how they get people more engaged, but I think part of it is, once again, how many we talk about this, it's engagement via some way of
outside of the press conference.
Outside of the press conference. And it's also on the media to some measure, the traditional media, so to speak, to make it engaging. I don't know if it's by more coverage or better, but because the proof that people will latch on is Jordan, right? I mean, he's
the GOAT.
He's the GOAT.
Yeah.
And people follow him, and how do you bring that to a bigger, broader scale?
Break down the wall. Break down the wall. I mean, that's a part of what I envision for the station is being a meeting place. And if we put the athletes here and say, well, come here and meet them, come here and get to know them. Tell the athletes, here's a great chance for you to let people inside, let people know who you are. But a lot of the culture was 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. That was it. And I said, that's fine, but that's 30 hours each weeknight, that we could put in more content and more access, give more access. How weird is that? Like, am I wrong in thinking that people will use nighttime hours to engage in Husker athletics?
No.
Yeah.
No. Here's the key is getting people to know that they can during those hours. My sense is that it doesn't matter the sport, right? If people are into it, they want to be into it, right? And because of that, if to me, the most interesting thing that I saw on television, I guess it was on the weekend, was they had bowling. Okay. Now, I don't know how many people go to the Hollywood Bowl to watch them bowl. Not very many, because it's not that big. But, here it is on TV. It's clearly a sport that Nebraska is really good at. And there are going to be some fans, some people that are into that. If they know that, hey, I can come to this place, this station, and get that kind of intimacy, for lack of a better word,
right,
they'll come. And it's just getting to know, I think, because my sense, and maybe it's just me as an individual, is when you're into it, right? I mean,
you got the Kobe, you got the Mamba.
Well, I've been locked into that for years. People hate me for the teams I like, the Lakers, the Raiders. Pick one.
Love who you love, man. Love who you love.
And to the point where I drive to Minneapolis or Denver or Oklahoma City or wherever to see them play.
Yeah.
Right? Well, it's no different on a college level. The people, and you just got, would I have loved an opportunity to hear when I was, in high school, whatever, hear the guys that were playing then, hear John Rogers on a radio or Rich Glover, or I can run down all these names that were like the guys that here I am in high school, starting high school, and they're playing for national championships, and those are the guys you looked up to, and they were and to have some kind of access to that absolutely.
Yeah, to talk bowling. I mean, when I pitched the idea that we would have a bowling show each week, every Monday night, the eyes rolled, the sighs, the guffaws, and you go, okay. Except now that you've met them, folks are showing up. And I said, exposure to greatness is limited. When it happens, you have to take advantage of it. Same thing for gymnastics, swimming, diving. Like I want to expand to every sport within the athletic program. And I'd like the athletic department to let us help them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, could you imagine if, Thursday night, we can go back and replay Nebraska, Florida, and not have to bend over backwards and sideways at the same time. We could go back and, there's an archive of amazing interviews that are untouched and unused. I think instead I'm going to get those people to talk about those moments, because the experience resonates higher with people than the actual game itself.
I would agree with part B. Yeah.
Right.
You might want to run the Tommy Frazier run down the sideline in the Orange Bowl
with
Tommy and talk about, okay, I went through 9 guys, on that run, but to replay a game only hits the real hardcore are going to listen to that.
I think having them have those conversations is the best part of radio.
Yeah, but exactly, having those guys sit around and talk, and
you can describe I'll ask you and to make this point, what's your greatest favorite sports memory that you saw live? Who's the greatest athlete you ever saw live?
Oh, that's right? You're
right?
walking me down
right?
You're walking me down the path.
Well, but that's on purpose.
Yes. I saw actually probably the best single game I've 2. 5 years ago, whenever the last time they had the NCAA regional up in Omaha.
Mm-hmm.
The AP, who I work for, has one really great seat at every. I was sitting right next to Jim Nance. Jim Nance was as far from me as you are during the Duke Kansas game that Grayson Allen missed the final shot.
Mm-hmm.
So I couldn't be closer to that game. That's probably the best college game I've ever seen. Okay. Not the best athlete, but best game.
Yep.
Professional basketball, I was able to see a Lakers Celtics play a NBA Finals game at the Forum that Kareem won basically on a sky hook.
Right. Like from the free throw line.
Yeah, it was a sky hook, but it was like, what? Are you know the game I'm talking about?
I do.
I was at that game. I would put Kareem up there.
You're just showing off.
Kareem, people ask me greatest basketball player. I always put Kareem at the top, and and people are like, "Where's Michael Jordan?" Hey, y'all ever see Kareem play? They change the rules because of that guy in college.
Right.
How good do you got to be if they change the rules?
Like he's just, his UCLA run is ridiculous, and then to walk into the league with Milwaukee and turn it around, and then go to LA and do what you did,
and the Big O that. That was a team that got me when I was a kid, was because I followed UCLA
with
and then
Lucius Allen, Brian Winters.
Brian Winters.
I'm in. I'm with you.
We're in.
I'm
baby.
with you. I'm with you. I remember that group. Jim McMillan as well. They had their thing. We'll throw it to break. We'll close out 101 with Kent Wolgamott from the Lincoln Journal-Star. This is always the journey that you want to take. This is what sports does, and this is what we want to highlight. So stay tuned. We'll close out this hour when we come back.
Watch live on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch. You're listening to One-on-One with DP on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. 93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Brought to you by Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing.
Sunny skies and more spring-like warmth as we'll top out near 75 this afternoon. Winds will turn out of the north but remain light at around 10 to 15. Increasing cloud cover tonight, a low down to 30. We will be cloudy, much colder tomorrow, but still rather mild for early March with a high of around 51. I'm meteorologist Tim Wright for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
In a world where fun and cash prizes collide, one game explodes to the forefront. Cash Blast from the Nebraska Lottery. Non-stop excitement, a winning thrill ride, and starring you. Until April 12th, play 2x2 weekly for a chance to win $5,000 or $500. And if your ticket was a 7-day draw, your prize is doubled. Don't miss it. Cash Blast playing at a lottery retailer near you. 2x2 top prize odds 1 in 105,000.
Attention anyone standing near a mud puddle. Trucks and Bucks is back, so take cover. The Nebraska Lottery's most popular scratch game is roaring down the road again. And this year, we're giving away 8 blue 2022 Ford F-150 XLT Super Crew Flex Fuel trucks. So buy a $2 Trucks and Bucks ticket today. You could win a new Ford F-150 and make a real splash in your neighborhood. Ford F-150 is a registered trademark owned and licensed by Ford Motor Company. Top prize odds 1 in 336,000.
Tune in to the Teammates Mentoring Hour each Wednesday from 6 to 7 p.m. on 93.7 The Ticket. Hear stories from the program started by Tom and Nancy Osborne and how it's changed mentors and mentees' lives and how you can be involved. The Teammates Mentoring Hour, Wednesday nights from 6 to 7 o'clock on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Hey, Steve. Welcome to Great Clips.
Great Clips asks, what's the difference between good and great?
Come on back and have a seat.
Good asks you what haircut you'd like.
I have all your details from last time. Would you like the same haircut today?
Great already knows. With Clip Notes, we save your haircut details so you can get the same thing as last time, every time. Download our online check-in app today. Great Clips. It's gonna be great.
High school sports on 93.7 The Ticket are brought to you by the Lincoln Convention and Visitors Bureau. It's the most wonderful time of the year, and Lincoln is excited to welcome big events to our community. Find out what's happening in Lincoln by visiting lincoln.org.
There's a lot that goes into buying a home. Security First Bank can help lighten the load. Whether you're looking for more space or a new place, we make the process easier with friendly, experienced mortgage lenders. And whether you're building new or remodeling the old, we have flexible financing too. Security First Bank. We're the bank. Member FDIC. Equal housing lender. NMLS number 505011.
Here's your binky, buddy. We'll be home soon. You'd never give your baby a pacifier that has cigarette ash on it. But if you're smoking around your kids, yeah, it's kind of like that. Secondhand smoke contains thousands of toxic chemicals that can have a lasting effect on your child's health. Protect your children. Don't smoke around them or any child.
Call the Nebraska Tobacco Quit Line, 1-800-QUIT-NOW, 1-800-784-8669. Paid for by Tobacco Free Nebraska. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Action Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electric always makes safety a top priority for our home and office. In under just 1 hour, their team installed the state-of-the-art air scrubber system directly into our existing HVAC ductwork. This technology purifies the air and reduces exposure to common bacteria and viruses, creating a safer breathing environment for my family. Action delivers honest quality services we can count on. To learn more, visit actionlincoln.com.
Back to One-on-One with DP, presented by Beatrice Bakery on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back. Final segment of One-on-One. Again, Kent Wolgamott from the Lincoln Journal-Star. And I'll say this, free plug. If you haven't gone and found the article, the piece that he did on 93.7 The Ticket. Go find it. It's a pretty good read.
And I should be on journalstar.com
Yeah.
at somewhere at this point.
Yeah, it's on.
And
Yeah.
you know, we're doing it again. It's been an hour already.
Mm-hmm. I keep saying it. I keep telling you that it's not enough time. It's not enough time. But we were talking about over the break. Kind of a one-off, maybe once a month, once a week. Well, you go back and you pick a Husker game of note, and you take us back in time and break it down, like what set it up, who the players were that were there, what the fan base was thinking, and why that game was so important.
That actually sounds like absolute fun. And, I guess fortunately or unfortunately, being as old as I am, I could go back to the Sun Bowl in 1969, I believe it was. And that was the game the year before they
took the run.
Yeah. And that game was key.
Sets the table.
There's
the table. Always a table setter for greatness. It's there.
And
we miss them sometimes.
And most people don't even think about that Sun Bowl game.
So
they may not even know about it.
So then your next visit in, let's pick a day, probably after the state basketball tournament.
That'd be a good idea.
But let's pick a day and let's go through that. Let's go back to the Sun Bowl 1969.
All right.
I think that would be pretty exceptional. I think that'd be pretty cool. So before I let you get out of here, again, thank you, because there were people who had a lot of questions that were answered in the piece that you did. There are a lot of answers provided for folks. So I was like, wait a minute. It's much easier to tell everybody at once than to continually tell the story. But journalism and media, these are not lost arts. There are some great storytellers who still exist, who paint the picture, they set the boundaries, and they give us direction and reminders. I wanted to say, after meeting you, I went and did a deep dive and read as much of your stuff as I could.
Uh-oh.
No, but here's the thing. I'm an admirer of people who tell stories with heart attached. You don't distance yourself from what you write about. Like, you get to know, you have skin in the game once the story is told. And I appreciate that. And I have mad respect for that. Don't know why you chose me. I don't know why you chose this station, but you highlighted a lot of things that sometimes I forget about why we do what we do. And it's important for you, with your place in this community and your voice and your ability to tell stories, for you to tell the stories that you do. Like, you're a placekeeper. You're now one of the elders with the stories that identify why things are important, but you're required and you're necessary.
Well, thank you for that. But on your story, particularly, it's a story that needed to be told. Okay. It's to me, the stories that matter are ones that are about people that are engaging with the community in whatever fashion. It may be media, it might be sports, might be politics, it might be, but that are doing it in a way that isn't just all about me, right? And that are doing it in a way that brings, that they offer something to bring people in and bring people together. And that's what you're doing with the station here. And that's why I say it's pretty rare, because you don't see that a lot, where it comes in and that kind of in almost philosophy, I guess would be the way I'd say it, behind it. That's not common. It's just not, that it's just not common.
I just remember having people say, this is why we love sports.
Mm-hmm.
And to continually keep trying to highlight why we love sports.
And we love sports.
Right? Like, it's the thing.
And I mentioned this to you earlier. My mom, all right? My mom is 93 years old. My mom loves sports. Maybe that's where I got it as much as anything. She's engaged. She, volleyball, baseball, doesn't, if it's Nebraska sports, she's going to watch it. She's going to follow it. Okay.
Yeah.
That, weirdly enough, it's a way to bond with mom, even, right?
Right.
Well, that goes, we love sports, Nebraska in particular. It seemed, I haven't lived in enough places. I haven't lived in the places you have, right? But Nebraska, it seems to me, is even more so that way than a lot of other places. And maybe I'm wrong on that, but it sure seems that way.
What I know is we picked Lincoln, we picked Nebraska, the station and we picked each other, and now the community. And I said, you're why we do this, because you are the great connector. You make sense of it for me, and it's appreciated because it's not easy to do. But getting to know the young people, getting to know the coaches, getting to know the fan base, and then getting to know the history, it's been engaging and enlightening, and you have been so helpful. And I'll say once again, thank you for what you do, what you've done, and what you'll do next. It's appreciated, kind sir.
Thank you, sir, and we'll be back.
Yes, we will.
You and I at some point shortly.
Yeah, we'll do this
I hear
again.
music in my ears. I guess we're done.
Yeah, you and I will do this again. Rico, thank you, kind sir. We'll hand it over to the captain, Vershawn Jackson. Up next, here on 93.7 The Ticket.